welcome you all here to honor Stan and the new book that he's coming out with, the summary of his life's work. This is now the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. And that was kind of the full flowering of the peace and love. And shortly after that, there was a backlash. And as we all know, that backlash had tragic consequences in that not only did it criminalize all these drugs and drive everything underground, but it also ended up stopping all the research that was being done, not just in the United States, but around the world. And now, 50 years later, we're in the midst of a psychedelic renaissance. And there is more research now, and we're further along into phase 3 studies, the final stage before a drug becomes a medicine, than we were actually in the 60s. And if anyone in the world is responsible for this renaissance in psychedelic research, it's Stan. And so I think we really need to. In 1971, I started college. I was very freaked out by the world. I'd been traumatized by stories of the Holocaust that I was educated on as a very little boy. I was further traumatized by the Cuban Missile Crisis and all the education we got in school as I was a little boy about how if there's a nuclear war, you just duck under your desk. It might be okay, duck and cover. Somehow that wasn't that reassuring. And then the further thing for me was the Vietnam War, and that really was not my own country doing that. There was no, I couldn't sort of say it was the others. It wasn't the Germans, the Nazis, the Russians. That was my own country. And so I prepared to become a draft resistor. I was anticipating going to jail. Luckily, I started college before anything happened to me. And while I was at college, I started taking LSD and mescaline for the first time. I was kind of the ideal child in high school. And these experiences ended up really difficult for me. I felt that they were really necessary for me to go through, but they got increasingly difficult as I was unable to really let go. And it was hard. And I went to the guidance counselor at college. And this was a time where you could say, I need help with my LSD experiences. And the guidance counselor took me seriously. But what he did was he gave me this string to wear around my finger so that whenever I felt like I was getting ungrounded, I would just touch the string and sort of think about the conversations that he and I had. But what he really did that changed my life forever was he gave me a book to read. And it was a manuscript copy of Realms of the Human Unconscious from Stan, Observations from LSD Research. And it was kind of amazing because that book wasn't actually formally published till 1975. But I got a manuscript copy in 72. And what it was about that book that so fundamentally changed my life was that Stan was taking science. I had lost faith in religion, I'd lost faith in culture in a lot of ways, but I had faith in science. And so Stan's overview was a scientific overview, and it was a description of the realms of the human unconscious, including aspects that were beyond our personality in the transpersonal world, that were spiritual, mystical, the sense of feeling how we're all connected. And at the time, with my desperation at the world and the murderous nature of the human beings, I felt like this connection where we feel that we're all part of the same thing, that had profound political implications, that if we understand that we have more in common than separate, we all have thought some of these same things, I think that then we appreciate the differences rather than need to kill about them. And so what I fundamentally saw, though, in Stan's book was that it was grounded in this reality testing of therapy. So it wasn't abstract philosophy, it wasn't endless musings on spiritual realms, but it was about how do we actually use these understandings in order to actually help people. And I felt that was the package that I needed, the scientific look spirituality and therapy that I felt this could be really the way to go, a solution to what was going on. And so I wrote Stan a letter. So I was just an 18-year-old, spaced out freshman college student, and Stan was at Johns Hopkins, and I wrote him this letter, and you know, Stan wrote me back. and from that, I took a workshop with Stan in the Man Ranch with Stan and Jim Halifax. And so we were together in 1972, and I proceeded to try to evolve myself as fast as I could. I said earlier tonight, you know, I had the delusion, the more drugs you take, the faster you evolve. It didn't quite work out that way. And it took me 10 years basically to get integrated, building houses, getting grounded in that way. And then when I went back to college for the first time in 10 years, I went back to the same college. I was able to do off-campus study my first semester. I went to Stan again, and I went to Esalen, and he had a workshop with Christina on the mystical quest in September of '82. And while I was at that workshop, a woman, Debbie Harlow, who's here tonight, came by, and she said, there's a new drug called Adam, and it helps you talk, it helps you listen, it helps you feel love, it helps you, communicate with people. And I thought, how interesting can it be if you take a drug and you can still talk? I'm so used to psychedelics. At some point, if you know you're really tripping when you can't talk. David Crosby actually has an album that's called "If I Could Only Remember My Name." This is one of the greatest psychedelic albums ever. I'll just mention it. And so Stan was both instrumental in helping me chart a course for my life, and then also it was through Stan's workshop really that I learned about MDMA. But what I really want to share with you, I think, is about Stan's work with breathwork. And so when so many people, when the backlash happened, were thinking about, we're going to go off to do meditation, or we're going to do bodywork, or other things, there was this general sense that people were sort of moving beyond psychedelics. Ram Dass even said, if you get the message, hang up the phone, and then move on. So I think that what Stan was able to do was this brilliant work with Christina, developing holotropic breath work. So when the main tools that he had were taken away from him, he found another way to induce the same kind of experiences, very similar, but with breath, with something that could never be made illegal. Stan actually said at one point, one of the virtues of breathwork was that it could never be criminalized. But unfortunately, breathwork was actually criminalized in France. They have laws against cults, and they decided that breathwork was a cult. But I think it was this willingness to continue on no matter the obstacles, no matter even if the most important tools were taken away, but still to find a way forward. And Stan was always acknowledging not only the value of meditation, of breath work, of all these other approaches, but he always said that there's a place in the healing process and the spiritual process for psychedelics. And he carried that thread. And through the breath work trainings, he really attracted the most devoted people to learn about psychedelics and psychedelic research. The training was similar. So it's really, we're here today because of Stan, and I'd like to just say how much you're like my intellectual, spiritual father, and that without you, I don't know where I would be, or where we would be, or where our culture would be. And I think our culture is on the verge of really integrating these psychedelics, and we owe thanks to that to you. Speaker. So Rick's been a very close associate of Stan's. They've worked together for many, many years, and Rick's PhD was about LSD research, and Stan was his main advisor on this PhD.